now, more of Shooting the Shit with Harry, Austin, Jackson, and Andrew. Now tune in on all platforms and streaming live on the X app.
How's it going, everybody? This is Harry G, co-host here. And we got hostess of the mostest, as always, Jackson. Say hello.
Hey, everyone.
So, we might have some interesting topics to talk about today. As always, shooting the shit on them.
So, I mean, I would hope they're interesting topics. Why would we talk about a topic that's not interesting?
Well, I mean, with you moving and then other things going along with it. I mean, we're not going to be talking about how we usually be talking, like as far as the world and everything going on. It's just, this would be more of the agenda of you moving, actually.
Yeah, moving sucks. Every time I move, I always regret the decision for the first couple days. But, you know, it's rewarding once you get all your stuff unpacked and you get settled into your new place. So I'm looking forward to that.
Right. I don't mind moving. I think moving just seems like a more clarity of a refreshment. I remember when I moved from Fort Wayne back to my hometown. I mean, it sucked, but at the same time, it felt nice and calming. Like it just seemed like a whole new other start.
Yeah, it's a fresh start in a new area. It's like 300 miles from here, Key West. And I'll be starting school next week as well. So
Nice.
that will be fun. And I'll be taking a web design class. So I'll get us a website started and we'll go from there.
Yes, and then we'll be implementing some podcasts from your Apple devices or any other podcast streaming apps. Hopefully.
Yeah. We need a domain to host the podcast on that will be streamed through Apple.
Mm-hmm. So we basically got a good agenda going on as far as updating our podcast and what we need to do.
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
Yes, and we're on episode 7. So, gang.
I can't believe it's already been 7 weeks, almost 2 months.
Oh yeah. Nope. Definitely. We came a long ways. Yeah. We started our beginnings from X on. Yeah, we started beginning on X space or whatever it's called, and then we decided that wasn't working out, and then we went to Riverside, and then we decided that wasn't working out as well, and then now we're currently here. I mean, we're currently always developing and upgrading each and every step of the way.
Yeah, we want to bring quality content, so we've tried multiple platforms, and we decided the platform we're currently on is the best for our needs.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and I get it. I mean, knowing it's an hour podcast, but we try to make every interesting topic
Yeah.
going. So
Speaking of interesting, I just invented this game this past weekend.
Mhm.
It's called You Look Like You'd Be the Guy, and then you finish it. So I'll make an assumption about you, Harry, and I'll say,
Ooh.
you look like you're the type of guy that would turn into a vampire in the summer because he never went outside in the sun.
Oh, yeah. I can get a little paley time for time. I mean, I don't know. I try to get a good tan going on, but usually with Indiana, we don't get much of a decent sun exposure like you guys do in Florida.
Oh, it's brutal down here. It's probably 90% humidity right now. It's been raining every day for a couple weeks, and it's hot and cooking. And it looks like it's supposed to rain again today, and tomorrow, and Saturday, and Sunday. So that's Miami for you.
Oh yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, with Indiana, it's kind of the mixed bags of tricks when it comes down to weather. So
Yeah, apparently it's only 68% humidity, but it feels much worse for some reason.
hmm
So
so all right. Um, you want to get on the first topic of the day?
yeah, that was their first topic, was moving sucks, remember?
Oh crap! Don't worry, I'll get that one. All right, let's get to the other topic of what you want to discuss about.
Oh yeah. Um, for some reason, I've always been drawn to Stoicism. I think it's a really neat philosophy. Uh, and I think the fundamentals are beneficial to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're religious or not, because it's a philosophy. So it's not religious, but it's like a way of living life. And it was started over 2,000 years ago. It was started, I believe, by the Greeks, and eventually Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor, and he wrote down a lot of these popular Stoic teachings that are read to this day. There's actually a very old book around Marcus Aurelius's time of all of his writings, and a lot of people will read those daily readings and meditate on it. But anyway, for the past few years, I've been watching some videos on Stoicism every now and then. I think it's really neat philosophy, and one of one of the videos I was watching this week was talking about isolation and how beneficial social isolation can be for short periods of time, so you can reset your mind and you can think through problems on your own without anyone else's opinion, and it can boost your creativity. It can also boost your appreciation for other people, for relationships. Um, and I guess it just makes you more grateful for the people around us. And yeah, uh, one of one of the pillars or fundamental beliefs of Stoicism is the circle of control, which talks about living a better life by not being so worked up by everything that's going on. And the circle of control basically says if you can't control what is causing you grief or for you to be upset, don't worry about it. Control what you can control, but as far as for anything else that you can't control, don't give it too much negative energy. Don't let it drain you. And I thought that was pretty deep and meaningful. I thought it was pretty neat. So
Yeah, yeah. I think you know, it's funny because when people get upset, I mean, I always just kept thinking like every bits of an emotion in us is actually pretty healthy for us because the thing is it's like I want to feel angry, I want to feel sad, I want to feel every bits of it. I mean, I'm not saying like it in a good thing. It's like I think in our nature, I think you're right. We shouldn't be worked up all the time, but at the same time, you gotta balance your emotions out. Like you just like even being happy all the time. Like if you got a bit of if you're happy like every single day for the rest of your life without any sort of negativity, confliction that comes in us, I mean, I don't think that's healthy to the slightest bit because it's like you don't have that challenge in your life.
Yeah, that would be strange. I've never really thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, people have portrayed it to where you would have this town of like full of happy people that are smiling all the time and all that. And like you always get that one person who has these mixed emotions, and you always just there would always be that scenario where you got it's basically indicating that you got to balance out who you are as a person. Like and that's the part I never understood with like people who have these anger issues and all these depressions and all that. I mean, it's always the negative emotions that people get like prescribed with like medications and all that. But in my opinion, I mean, I always think like if you're angry, I mean, it's always best just to be angry for a little bit and then meditate on it. Meditate like why are we angry all the time and why am I getting angry? And then just kind of go from there and then you can just be happy. Like the more you understand more about that anger and realizing it's not that big of a deal, the more happier you can actually become in the long term.
Well, that's funny that you mentioned that because Stoicism teaches something similar where um, oh, I lost my train of thought.
Oh, you're good.
I'm hearing this drill upstairs, and it's kind of annoying me. But no, Stoicism has this train of thought that oh, come on, Jackson. Give me a second. You got to cut this part out.
Oh yeah, don't worry, no worries. I got you.
Fuck. What were you talking about at the end?
Oh, I just said like you could be like it's best for you to be angry for you to understand your emotions and then once you meditate that
Oh,
anger,
okay.
you can
Yeah.
be happy.
Yep, I remember. So when you said that, it reminded me of Stoicism. There's a belief in Stoicism that Stoics make well thought out decisions. They don't make impulsive decisions. And a lot of times, impulsive decisions are emotional, just like you said, where you make an irrational decision because you're so worked up, your brain is clouded by bad thoughts. So I don't know. It's kind of neat that what you're saying
Oh yeah.
relates to Stoicism. Stoicism is a very rational way of living, looking at logic over emotions.
Right. I mean, there's a lot about us that we truly don't understand. I mean, I talked to my dad about this, and like, I've always tried to understand like what makes us so angry all the time. What makes us happy? What makes us laugh? What makes us just anything? I mean, when you and I communicate, and you say something that's funny, and I laugh about it, but not very many people do. It's just like, why do I find that funny, but not many others don't? It's just like and there's this thing in our heads that's called the limbic brain, and it's like kind of like right here. But yes, it's our senses and it's our way to communicate. It's what governs our emotions. So so like so the things that you said, the things that you say can be funny, but not very many others would find that because we have a different sense of communication.
Yeah, we all have a different sense of humor. We're all raised differently. Me and you
Exactly.
were raised closely, so me
Yeah.
and you find certain things funny because it could have to do with our upbringings.
Exactly.
But other people may not be able to relate to that type of humor.
Exactly. And then you could say something that's well positive, and then somebody could just turn that positivity into negativity all the time. It's just
Oh yeah,
there's always an opposite effect on each end, in which I think that's pretty good for us humans, because it's like we want to balance out for who we are. I mean, you and I obviously can have different opinions at the same
yeah,
time, but we could still communicate just fine in more civil term, because knowing people might not like opinions being stated on them time from time, but like I'm more of that type of person. It's like, let's be civil. I might disagree what you say, but I'm willing to sit down and talk about it. But if there's going to be constant battling of yelling and all that between like others, it's just like there's just no point, because then that just means that that person's trying to change me the way I want to think, and it's like no.
yeah. I mean, I'm not perfect when it comes to reaction time. You know that.
Hmm.
I can blow up, but part of stoicism is taking time and yourself away from the situation so you can make a rational decision. So
Exactly.
look at it from an outward perspective, a third person point of view of your life, and try to look at the situation objectively. And that's why I like to take 24 hours. I would always tell my ex whenever we would get in a fight, I'd say, um, I don't want to argue right now because we're both emotional. So let's give it 24 hours for us to think about things rationally, and then we'll get back tomorrow and continue this discussion. And every time we did that, it worked.
Yeah, exactly. And no, that's good, because you were learning the ways of how to fix a proper relationship. And for me, I'm learning how to fix a proper relations with other people. I, you know, in the long term, usually like I always had a hard time accepting defeat, but like at the same time, I feel I feel a lot better to be myself and knowing I can hold myself accountable for most things than instead of hiding it, because I feel that when others lie about it, it never seems to go at a good ending when people lie. And I mean, of course, we all got skeletons in our closets that we're willing to hide, but the only time it ever gets exposed is if you say something about them. You can hide them for the longest time, and yeah, you could hide it for the longest time if nothing was said, or somebody just finds out one of these days. But yeah, that would be like holding yourself accountable.
So, what was that video, or where did you get the information about the Olympic brain?
So as you were mentioning about the irrationality, there is a law called laws of irrationality, which I will show that actually. It actually shows how you can hold yourself. It is a 45-minute video, but we won't, do that. We'll just go by the basics of law of rationality.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'll definitely put this.
What is the law of rationality?
So it's basically obviously to master your emotional self, as it says. Like I said, I'll put the link in the description below in our YouTube video. But yeah, no, laws of rationality is just basically what makes us us. So I'll let the video explain.
Law 1. The law of irrationality. Master your emotional self. You like to imagine yourself in control of your fate, consciously planning the course of your life as best you can. but you are largely unaware of how deeply your emotions dominate you. I bet you think that you're in complete control of your life, but are you really? You are, for the most part, completely unaware of how deeply your emotions control your life. The changes in your mood and this disconnect from reality is where bad decisions and negative thoughts originate. Rationality is your ability to counteract these emotional effects on your decision making. The first step on the path to becoming a rational person is accepting that humans are fundamentally irrational creatures. Living organisms for millions of years depended on their instincts to survive. Over time, for some animals, this evolved from an instinct to a feeling of fear. Our brains have evolved to a higher mammalian brain, which is comprised of 3 parts. The first and oldest being the reptilian part of the brain, which automatically controls and regulates the body. This part of the brain is where our instincts derive from. Next is the old mammalian brain, or the limbic brain. Our feelings and emotions are governed here. And finally, on top of that, we have the neocortex, the part of the brain that controls cognition and language. Our rationality resides here between these 2 parts of the brain. Let me explain why. Our emotions originate here in the limbic brain. Chemicals are released to arouse our awareness of our surroundings. The problem is when we try to translate these sensations and feelings into words using our neocortex. For these 2 different parts of the brain, the communication and translation taking place between them is often inaccurate, and hence leads to our irrationality. Emotions and cognition are not easily translatable. What seems like anger may truly just come from a source of envy. Whereas animals feel fear for a short time, we often dwell on our fears. We make them greater than they are, and we can feel long-term anxiety. We are always feeling certain emotions, and therefore they are always infecting our thinking. Rational people are aware of this. Being able to mitigate your emotions from your thinking helps you make rational decisions. Irrational people are not even aware that their emotions are playing a role in their thinking, often making rash decisions or exploding with rage over menial discomforts. Don't worry though, there are ways we can mitigate our inherently irrational minds. Step 1. Recognize and understand your biases. The most common emotion is the desire for pleasure and the avoidance of pain. This pleasure principle in thinking is the source of all our mental biases. Confirmation bias. Going in search of evidence to support your point of view and turning a blind eye to anything that disconfirms your held belief. Finding evidence that confirms what we want to believe is confirmation bias. Counteract this by also playing devil's advocate and finding opposing views. Conviction bias. How can this idea be wrong if I can have so much energy to defend it? You may even have doubts about the truth of this belief, but now you have dug a hole where you feel the need to defend the idea and convince yourself that it is true. Appearance bias. The halo effect. If someone appears to have a positive quality, we tend to attribute other positive qualities to that person without any evidence. Likewise for negative qualities. Appearances are misleading. The group bias. We love and are relieved when we find other people who think the same way that we do. Isolation and disparity from the group makes us depressed. Groupthink is when people take up ideas solely because they bring us comfort and a sense of belonging to the group. The blame bias. Our innate response is to blame others. It is more painful to look in the mirror and admit our mistakes. This is the blame bias. Superiority bias. We all like to think of ourselves as likable, ethical, and rational. But this can't actually be true, because if it were true, we would all have world peace, and that just isn't the case. Step.
So that was some parts of it, but like I said, I mean, I wasn't gonna bore you with the whole thing. That the rest of the video would be in the description. But yeah, I mean, you get the the basis of laws of irrationality when it comes to biases and our human emotions.
Emma wanted to be on the show today. she just crawled up here and she's in my face.
Yeah. Oh no, I always like having Emma around.
She's a well-meaning dog. She's a good dog. She can be a little loud though, so you may hear her barking at people walking down our hallway. But
Oh yeah, but yeah. Anyway, but no, that the laws of rationality can be a helpful, useful tool to help understand better of yourself, and um not become a negative person all the time. Just like your stoicism.
yeah, negativity can certainly drain everyone's energy,
Exactly.
and I think it's the most popular way for media to get interaction is negativity.
It's better. It's like it's for people to cope on the idea.
Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting to see the studies on that.
Yeah.
On how many negative posts there are versus positive, and what drives more clicks.
Exactly. I can understand when people want to be told these certain things, it's just like reading a bedtime story, and it's just like you hear a certain part of the book that sounds scary or whatever, and like as a kid, and there would be good parts of the book that seems positive and that you could sleep on it. I mean, that's just kind of how the media is. It's just like a big giant bedtime story that people just want to hear and depict on the emotions of it.
Yeah, I've never thought of the evening news as a bedtime story, but that's kind of funny. I could definitely see that. Older grandparents age people like to sit down and watch the 11 o'clock news right before bed, and it kind of puts them to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to me, it's just like I don't let the news or any sort of media outlets influence my decisions. It definitely is a good way just to be informed about the idea and then see if it's what's they're saying is true. But like at the end, it's just like I want to be informed about certain things, but not be influenced by the idea.
Yeah, I mean, if you read or watch the news, you're misinformed. If you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. So
Yeah.
there's really no good way about it. The news media also selects what stories to report on versus what not to.
Oh yeah.
And
Sure.
the people that own these media companies are very well connected to money, people with money. So that's how the whole game works. So all of our TV, all of our movies, all of our news, all of our cable sitcoms, cartoons even are all influenced.
They're driven on the idea.
And they're all influenced. So it's pretty crazy. But I think it's better to know that than not. Because then you can take the news with a grain of salt when you read a story.
Exactly. I mean, I would just like watch it just out of the interest, and like Star Wars, for instance. I mean, I love Star Wars, but but I want to, go out in public and just be like, yeah, Star Wars is all real life and all that stuff, and just be based on it. It's just people get influenced by the idea, by the ideas, basically.
Do you
Obviously,
have CNN app on your phone?
no.
Okay. I don't know if I do. But a few years ago, I turned off notifications from all news apps because they were just spamming me with all this BS breaking news. That
Oh yeah,
wasn't breaking news.
yeah. No,
Why?
they do that just so they can get you on the hype because yeah, there is this one app called Newsbreak, and oh, trust me, like breaking news, which see that's the part of the media I'm not understanding. Like, what is breaking news now to this point?
Yeah.
Is it really that tragic for a small percentage of people to be like, oh my gosh? Like all you're doing is just you're only attracting a few percentage of people, and not a majority. I mean, think of it this way. During like September 11th of 2001, during the whole World Trade Center being attacked, I mean, think of it that way. That was actually news. That was actually news to be broadcasted. It was
Yeah, I remember on 9/11, I was just sitting down watching TV while my mom was getting my sister ready for school. And I think I was going to afternoon kindergarten at the time. So I had my mornings at home. And I was watching cartoons, probably Bob the Builder. And I just remember this burning building being shown on my screen. And it interrupted every channel. It was on every single channel.
exactly because that was
And
breaking news at the time. That is something that the whole world could be seeing.
and I just remember wondering, why is a burning building so important? Like, this happens every day, right?
Mhm.
You know? And then the second plane hit, and then that's when it turned into something heinous. Because at first you might have thought it was accidental,
Mhm.
but the second plane hit and reality struck for a lot of people. And I was only like 5 or 6 at the time, but I understood it was a big deal.
Oh yeah. But
Where
yeah,
were you on 9/11?
I don't remember. I'm gonna be completely honest.
Oh, you don't remember 9/11?
No,
Wow.
I don't. Usually, like I said, I don't watch much of the news to be like I said, I don't watch
Harry, you don't need to watch the news to hear
well,
about 9/11. Jeez.
I'm just saying I don't watch much of I used to watch a lot of TV, but like
You
I
were
just
born in 93, right?
yeah, I was born in 93. Yeah,
So you would have
I
been
could have
I guess
I don't
not many 8-year-olds watch the news, so
yeah, I
I
wasn't
guess I can't fault you there.
yeah. I mean, like I said, it's just the way that I don't know. I vaguely remembered it, and then I just remember I was in
Yeah.
junior high, and then I was just like, "Oh, this happened."
Yeah,
Okay,
my memories are pretty vague with it too. I just remember watching cartoons and this burning building interrupting, and I was kind of upset because I'm like,
where's my show?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
a.
like, I was like, this is normal stuff, isn't it?
I mean,
Like skyscrapers being
when
built.
you're watching Bob
I
the
mean,
Builder, I mean, then again, you ask Bob the Builder, it's like,
I
can we
mean,
fix it?
we grew up playing Sim City. Burning buildings happen all the time.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that, yeah, I mean,
You
but
played
like,
Sim City on my computer.
oh yeah, I remember the old style one. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, it definitely no, it's just like you said. It's just like that's literally breaking news like you were saying. That was that was the idea because
Yeah,
because
I
that
would
was
say
something
like
tragic.
a national emergency would definitely be breaking news.
Exactly. But like constant breaking news is you act like I mean
Yeah.
like these big media outlets act like this country's under attack or something and it never has. Like we never know what's going on behind closed curtains. We're never going to know. No matter how many times the media tries to expose the government, no matter how many times media wants to go after somebody, we don't know that. Somebody could say the wrong thing or whatever and just completely missaid something about that person.
I definitely feel like there's something above our government that's in charge.
But yeah, I mean, we don't
As
know.
as far as like a shadow government or something. I believe that conspiracy could be true.
But that hasn't came to light yet because there's been so many people destined to find answers. I mean, there's people that are destined to follow up. I mean, people think that we're just dumb animals thinking that we're never going to know, but yet clearly there's always there's always going to be that somebody that's going to find the piece of an evidence like you just said. Like there's something above our government. All right, that's funny that you say that. How did I know? I could have not known it if you didn't say anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there are many people who are willing to be oblivious of the idea.
And that brings up the Matrix. Do you want the red pill or do you want the blue pill?
I don't want neither. Unless if one of them has actual effects, and then we'll see from there. Which one's more tempting than the other?
Well, the red pill gives you the truth, right?
Hmm.
But the truth is disturbing.
I'm fine with that.
Or you can take the blue pill, which is just living in bliss and going back to your normal life.
Exactly. I mean, I understand that people don't like the truth as much as they want to. I mean, the truth, this like, I don't know. It's hard to understanding to present the truth to others. So like we could talk about Kamala Harris and her corruptions and thinking that, is this statement true? But knowing what sort of evidence do we have other than news outlets just saying otherwise? We don't know. You and I don't know her personally. We don't know her actual doings step by step. All we're doing is just reading what the internet wants us to read.
Right. That's why I'm still not convinced Donald Trump is racist. Everybody says Donald Trump is racist as far as the news media,
Hmm.
but I've seen no direct evidence of that, and no one can produce any as far as I am aware.
Exactly, because people want to believe that someone like Donald Trump he's just a white Caucasian male that is going against a woman of color. And then I don't know. It's just like Democrats want to always manipulate others, like young-minded college students or whatever, into thinking that Donald Trump is a racist.
It's not just that demographic; it's everyone. They want to send this message to everyone,
Oh yeah,
all
for sure.
voters, that Donald Trump is racist. And I mean, they try and get him. I posted on our Instagram this week of this video where Trump had a mic drop. Did you see that, Harry?
Probably not.
Oh,
I was at work, probably busy. So.
well, a reporter asked Donald Trump why he is visiting a city in Michigan that is tied to white supremacy. And Donald Trump asked, who was here in 2021? And the reporter said, Joe Biden. And he said, exactly. And then he walked away. And even the cops in the background were laughing.
I mean, yeah, it's just like I don't understand. Basically the media is willing to make up anything. You could spiel nonsense and people would believe it.
Well, they want him to appear as if he's racist by asking
Exactly.
him questions like that constantly. And the media also spread lies that Donald Trump said that white supremacists were nice people. He wasn't. This has been debunked even by Snopes, which is left leaning. That Donald Trump never said that about white supremacists. It was taken out of context.
Yeah.
Like most of the bullshit in the news is snippets of out of context.
Yeah, for sure.
To get you all emotionally charged.
Exactly. I mean, I guess we can never truly change people's ideas. And demographically speaking, it's just like people could just say whatever about whoever. And I guess it's really hard to defend yourself and knowing that the damage has already been done.
I don't think it's too hard to change people's opinions, actually. I think the news does it pretty damn well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's just, but to you and I standards, it definitely would show that, hey, if we try to change people's ideas, they're gonna think that we're stupid. But yeah, if they listen on the news and give them that idea, then they're going to start believing it. It's just like there's always going to be the bigger guy that speaks more louder than us. Is what
the
I'm
big
saying.
guy, Joe Biden.
Yeah.
That's a joke about this Republican investigation of Biden or trying to impeach him. So
Yeah. Let's see.
apparently the Bidens received $27 million from foreign companies. So they're Hunter and Joe are being investigated for that.
But yeah, even if the investigation is going on, but yet if the outcome of the investigation doesn't come to that proper conclusion, and nobody's going to like that conclusion for some reason because they're going to think that it's an extortion, it's bribery, it's all this and all that. And it wouldn't have mattered how the investigation would go. Nobody's going to like the outcome at the end.
I don't want to start a conspiracy, but if Joe Biden received $27 million from foreign assets to include Ukrainian assets, and we're sending all these billions to Ukraine right now for their war, isn't that a coincidence that this Ukraine war started under Joe Biden? After he's been doing deals with them?
When did it start? Back in 2021?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so
February.
I mean, I don't know what necessarily started that war. I mean, if the media is gonna like heavily concrete that information and think of that Russia wanted to start a military operation, I mean, I don't know exactly. We don't know exactly what all began and what all started. I mean,
I understand the situation quite well. I
Right.
did days of research on the war in Ukraine. As soon as Russia invaded, I looked at every documentary, everything I could read on the topic. And
Right.
I learned quite a bit to the point of where I call bullshit on a lot of this U.S. Ukrainian propaganda.
Oh yeah, it was
The
just
United
like
States does not give a shit about Ukraine's sovereignty. What they care about is grinding Russia and slowing them down by having them send their guys to the meat grinder and
basically
waste all
made-
of their military resources.
They basically made Ukraine as a buffer area.
It's a proxy war between the
Mhm.
United States and the USSR and China, or
Mhm.
USSR, Russia. I wasn't even alive during that period of time. But no, there is so much bullshit, so many lies. Does everyone remember the ghost of Kiev, the supposed fighter pilot that was Ukrainian that shot down all these aircraft? That was a total made up lie. There was another Snake Island lie of Ukrainian soldiers being on this island, and this Russian warship was telling them to surrender. And they said, F you, Russian warship. And then they were supposedly killed. That was a total lie, that entire story. So there's just so much bullshit propaganda going around. And the first casualty in any war is the truth. And this was especially the case in Ukraine and what we were reading in Western news. For years, the West has been expanding NATO closer to Russia. They're on their doorstep. Do you remember learning about the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1963, I believe?
I kind of did. I did more of an independent research on it.
Okay, so you're familiar.
Mhm.
So the Russians responded to the Americans putting nuclear weapons in Turkey, which is within range of Moscow, Russia. So USSR responded by sending nuclear arms to Cuba, 90 miles from the United States and within range of Washington, D.C. So they were going tit for tat.
Mm-hmm. And then I guess U.S. just wanted to respond with the barricade.
Yes, my grandpa was actually part of that, the naval blockade. But my point to the story is the U.S. overreacted during the Cuban Missile Crisis just as much as Russia overreacted by sending their forces into Ukraine. The United States has been threatening that Ukraine will join NATO for years, and they keep gaslighting Putin and Russia by saying this. This is within a very short distance of Moscow. This is a border country. And if you think Russia overreacted, look at how the United States reacted in the 60s and Cuba. So I think this is a necessary thing. And unfortunately, it came down to that. But it's been failed diplomacy and the West gaslighting Russia that started this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And all me and you read is Western news, right? Mm-hmm. Because we live in the West. So we're not told the truth in our news about that war.
I mean, what is the truth when it comes down? Because there's always a majority of West.
Well, the truth is the West started this war by provoking Russia about expanding NATO.
Yeah, but you knew that truth, but like knowing that we're in the Western media territory, how did you get the other truth of it? Is my real question.
So the documentary I watched was Roger Stone documentary. Very well done. It was like Ukraine on Fire, or Oliver Stone. He's a great documentarian, and he did some very deep research into 2014 when the United States CIA overthrew the Ukrainian government and put our puppet government in, which was Zelensky. The US put Zelensky in power. And how bad do you think that pissed off Russia that we influenced a neighboring country's election? So the US has been doing this for as long as our country's been here. So it's no surprise. But you just have to look around. You can't rely on the mainstream media to be informed.
Oh yeah, no, I truly agree. I mean, there's always certain documentaries that people would collaborate on the idea. I mean, that's why I don't watch the news as much, because I know I know it's a fake, and I know that the idea behind it is all fake. I mean, but when you start watching every media, it's just like they always have a different depiction of the story. Each and every one. Which one is the truth beyond that point, and which one is the real story? Like, we just can't tell at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like, we're always getting a different source of the news, and we don't know.
Yep. It's a lot of BS going on.
Yeah.
So.
No, I definitely would like to put in some conclusion here for the day. It's our responsibilities as us humans to make independent influence decisions. We can't always rely on the news. You can't always sit on the rocker and thinking that one day something bad is going to come. You're better off getting off the rocker and just moving forward. And that's what you and I do. Like, we get off our rocker, we move forward. Even though, yeah, we're always going to read something along the way, but we're not going to side with nobody. We're not going to side with the good guy or the bad guy, because we don't know who's the good guy or the bad guy to this point.
Exactly. So,
but if our ideas, I mean, yeah, there's always going to be someone who's going to be influenced by our matched ideas. Somebody's going to say, like, oh, I like your idea, you should come join with us. It's like, no, because then you will turn my idea into something more harsh. So it's always best for you to decide what's best for your own interest.
Yeah.
Because because that interest of yours is a very valuable thing in our brain. And you don't want nobody reaching in there and then squishing it and crushing it.
Yeah, I suppose you should vote on the interests that benefit you.
Exactly.
So
Republican, Democrat, no one's the answer.
I mean, it might be a selfish thing to say that, but what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everybody's always out to take advantage of your ideas. Trust me. Your ideas could be so good. You like your ideas, and then once they manipulate your idea, then it just became all for nothing. But
yeah.
All right. Well, we are ending our episode today. Hope y'all have a good weekend, really.
And I'll be on a sailboat by the time we're recording next. So
yes. So he will be on his boat, and hopefully that it's not too noisy. But yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be too noisy. You can always close the cabin up, and yeah, I might be rocking back and forth a little bit, but I'm looking forward to it.
Oh yeah. All right. Awesome. All right. We'll see y'all next week.